Hi, this is Bits and Pieces, the official podcast of Component Supply. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Mark.
And today we're going to be talking about our lab kits and why we think they're important for you to have in your lab or in your shop. So I didn't invent these. You put these lab kits together. We've added a few since I've been here, but can you talk about what was your vision for the lab kits? And I can talk about what my vision is.
So, wow, this actually goes obviously a long way back. So at Small Parts, we used to say that we were the hardware store for researchers and developers.
I remember us having to do like a little bit of a rebrand because you didn't want people to start thinking we were just like one of those big box departments.
Right. So, okay. So I'm allowed to offend people here. So, if you were to go back, let's just jump back 50 years in America. You went to the hardware store and everyone that you spoke to knew how to do stuff. This is the model we have here. That's why when you call, we want somebody, the first person that answers the phone, we want them to be able to give you a copy of your invoice, but also answer a technical question and know the products well enough to guide you. That was the hardware store. Here in America 50 years ago, you could walk in and if you needed to, replace a doorknob or fix a plumbing fixture, that person could tell you what to buy, how to do it, walk you step by step. And then oddly enough, they actually had all the fittings you need. And they were really organized really, really well. And if you just needed the O-ring, they would have the O-ring actually there in the store. This
was the speech I got when you hired me.
Oh yeah, this is going back to the complete offering. It was always available. And so when you went to the store, you could walk up to these racks and they would have drawers, and you'd open the drawer, you flip open the top, and it would have all kinds of fasteners. It's just drawer after drawer after drawer of a different size or a different thread or a wing nut or the wide washer or the narrow washer or a thin washer, and you kind of look and you're like, how can they make 14 different washers that are all number 10s? And so, but they did, and the hardware store had them, and they were always there.
Yeah.
And so when you walked in the hardware store and you need to do a project, you could find out what you needed to do, and you could get all the things you needed at one time. We did rebrand because, unfortunately, the hardware stores people think of today in America are not like that. The people are not necessarily knowledgeable, and they are always missing at least two of the fittings you need to complete the project, so you have to wind up making up something. But at Component Supply, I was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to have fittings, or little lab kits to make sense. And that was the spirit behind it was, how do I create something that was sort of like you walked up, you opened the little drawer thing, the little bin, and had all the parts in it that you needed to do this one thing. Yeah. That was the spirit behind how lab kits started in my brain. Yeah,
and it really does, I think, work this way. We do have customers that will buy, if they're testing with hypodermic tubing, using that regularly in their concept to prototype phase, they will regularly, they'll buy the whole 1 through 10 kits just so they have some different options to play with. So we want to talk about the different kits that we have and why we have those. Maybe talk about, what might be good for the future and how you can use these kits to kind of test fit, form, function kind of characteristics. And then we really do want to end with asking you, what kits are we missing? What components on our website, when you're looking at, I wish I could just buy a kit with all of your XYZ. So we'll get into that. The first one, we have a couple, the kits are, they're kind of made to order. That all the components we have ready to put them in the box, but I don't have them all here because there are so many of them it would take up the whole table. So we have some representation of what's going on in the kits. We'll start with, I think our most popular ones are tubing and wire. So we'll start with the hypodermic tubing kits. So these what I have right now is a cut piece kit. And so what these come with is the hypodermic tubing kits. Some of them are longer lengths, but a range of diameter sizes. Some of them you're testing diameter sizes and cuts. This is a good way for you to kind of see different lengths if you're working with cut pieces, which a lot of you are because we cut your tubing. So before you have to get like our shop minimum or something, you can keep these to see which sizes would be close as you're testing. What you get is when you buy the kit, you get the box, you get the stuff that's in the box, and you get there's a cover on it that has, some information about it, kind of your typical product description. And this particular kit, this is HTX Kit 5, this is going to have various lengths and various gauges. So you're going to have a 12 to 18 gauge tubing in this kit, cut to various lengths, and you're going to have 6 per tube. Okay, so then you have the ability to shop all kits and reorder that kit with the QR code. So that's what comes here. So we're talking about HTX kits. We've got the kits to test gauge sizes, because that's usually like the first step is, diameters, wall thicknesses, what's going to work there and fit with your design. Then we have the length situation. So you might not need length. So some of them are just like standard kind of 10 to 12 inch pieces. Some of them are cut to more precise lengths. You can kind of see, how they're the burr-free cutting process and things like that. What are some reasons that, what do you envision for people testing with these hypodermic tubing kits?
So this is, you kind of look at some of this and you think, well, that's kind of redundant. You've got the same gauge sizes, if you will, in this with some short pieces versus another kit that may have the same gauge sizes in them. And I think they're 10 inches, 12 inches long. Something like that.
Just enough to fit, I think, the length of the kit.
Right. So you can't, we don't actually know how someone will approach a problem. And not every problem is approached the same way.
Right.
So, you've talked about in other venues or whatever, just sort of the clinical need, like approaching it from that standpoint. Well, when you're designing something, sometimes determining the gauge is critical. But also, now I want to, length. I'm coming at this from a length. Maybe I can give up some of this, but I kind of want to know what I'm dealing with in length. And a lot of customers have, especially that we sell, kind of have the ability to, MacGyver stuff together.
Yeah.
So
cowboy engineer.
Right. So they can take some of these small pieces and they can make a little needle if they want to. We've seen where they'll buy a needle off of Amazon and pull the thing out and then glue it back in to figure out, okay, that was close enough. Yeah, you guys
do crazy stuff. It's
fantastic. And I mean, that's okay. You're just trying to get to the next step, right?
Yeah, does my concept
work? But a 12-inch long or 10-inch long, to deal with the cutting side isn't as helpful as having a bunch of them that are small or short. How you can start to kind of play with some different lengths, and at the same time, for other people, length has no value at all, and they'd rather have the long because they're looking at gauges, or they have the ability to cut it and they can do something, or they need it to do. You don't know how they're going to approach solving their problem.
No, that's a really good point. That is a really good point. When we get a question from a customer, every question comes from a different place, a different struggle, and the devices are different. Again, we have some cross industry. A lot of ours is med tech, but there are other industries. So, in our vision, I think the goal for the offering of component supply on a broad scale, and then the goal of component supply on a lab kit scale, is to kind of anticipate where questions may arise. It's length, it's diameter, it's having different things to test with the stuff that you've already got. Not everyone right away even needs a 60-inch piece. They would of one diameter. It would be better for them to test lots of diameters in smaller lengths just to test. So we're approaching different angles here. I love the kits. We take these to trade shows often and let people kind of look through them, but they're labeled so you know what everything is. It's not just like we dump a bunch of cut pieces into the kit, which is what it looks. Well, that's what it looks like when I go on customer visits. By the time my kit gets home after being on the airplane, everything has shuffled and I got to reorganize everything. But these, our warehouse team, if you don't already know, they're truly the best. So they're going to put everything in a little bag like that. labeled, so you know exactly what it is. Now, these are made from cut pieces that you can buy on the website, right? So, like, we sell these teeny tiny cuts. You could buy one. It's ridiculous. We'd make no money off of them, but it's fun.
I mean, that's even the kid. That's not the point.
It's not the point. The point is for you to try, because who knows what you need and what you need to do. But you've got everything you need here to, like, do a replenishment buy if you need to. So those are nicely organized throughout the kit. So that's an example of that. Then, of course, if your other kits will have different diameter ranges and lengths, but they come organized, they come labeled. So when you get to a point where you're like, I'm ready to buy multiples of like a longer length to work with, you have what you need to be able to order.
One of the you don't want somebody designing something, finding what's perfect, and then not knowing what it is.
100%.
At this point, you can. Some of that was okay. That's exactly what I need. Now you can go to the website. You can find the product details. You can download the drawing because you know exactly what you have. And so it was organizing it to a point that your design process can go much faster because you know which product you want.
It does make me laugh though, because we do get customers who are like, the project at some point changes hands, right? So you might it gets to procurement, and at some point, like, some engineer's been playing with our lab kit. Then you've got a sourcing person, procurement person looking at this little part that it somehow became unorganized. So what you guys do with the kit? Yeah. When it gets to you, but there will be someone that called and they're like, I have this kit, and looking at this part, I think we bought it from you. Like, what is it? And they like try and take a picture of it, or like with mesh. They're like, I've got this mesh. I don't know what mesh opening size it is. And sometimes we're like, you want to send it? Just send it back to us, and we'll measure it for you and get it together. We'll help you figure out what you're looking for. So we recommend trying to keep them in the organized case because that makes it easy. So that's the hypo tube kits. The wire mandrel kits. They act very similarly. They come in that same box, as do our dispensing needle tips kits. And so same thing, you're gonna get various ranges of diameter sizes and about 12-inch lengths. So like this is, you've got 3 12-inch pieces of 70 thou diameter wire, right? So you're testing fit, form, and function here without having to number one, a 72-inch piece of wire is just a pain to ship for very little, and you're testing one size. This, shipping is reasonable, and you get to test a variety of sizes. So in this particular kit, you're going to get, let me see, I think I have it. It's a 304 stainless steel, 12-inch length. The diameter is 61 thou to 75 thou. You get 3 per tube. So that's kind of the format of some of these wire pieces. And this is just a 304 stainless steel wire kit. And is there anything else you want to add? I mean, they can do all sorts of stuff with these kinds of kits. They can attempt their bending processes. They can practice. It's a good length for a mandrel just for a prototype.
Right. Oh, yeah. This is, I think a lot of times this is truly just to find out, okay, that size didn't work. This was, I need to, a couple thou one way or another you're trying to move through. The I think when you look at, we chose a size range for kit number 4.
Yeah.
And we have customers in lots of industries, right? So generally we say, somebody in the catheter design world is going to use this, but there are plenty of companies that would use this same material for pens, and they're not just for that. This is if you really just back up, it's spring tempered wire. So it's the same stuff they make springs out of. It's the same thing they make latch hinges. I mean they make a lot of things out of that wire. So it's got a broad appeal. The other thing though is we chose those sizes for kit 4. Yeah. We probably did it because we started in this point and went to here and we're like, well, let's divide it out and make it simple, And so we didn't do it by industry or French catheter because you don't really know which industry is going to use it, or even if you are in one particular therapy application, like don't be in a box. You need some variety to change. Well, yeah, I guess you do need to be in a. We put it in a box, but that was just to keep it easy.
Sorry.
So I think what happens is once you get the kit, and this is one of the reasons we sold the individual, like the refills, because
we haven't even gotten into the refills yet.
Sorry,
you're jumping the gun.
I know, but we always said one of the things that would be nice to do for people, and we've had a handful of people ask us, is to make a custom kit. Come to us and say, hey, this is what we do. This is where we're challenges. Your kit, I don't really need kit 3, 4, and 5. What I need is some kind of combination, and let us just make the kit for you.
Yeah.
And put it together, and then that way you can buy the refills based off of that. But you have one kit that's for your specific needs.
Yeah.
Once you get it's just it's not special. We didn't make the box. Like, we just buy the box.
Yeah.
You can go buy extra sizes that weren't in kit 4 and just organize it for yourself for your own
You really can
needs.
make your own kit.
You can, right. This is just a good starting point.
Yeah.
So I want to bring that up because, again, we picked those sizes based off of just a range of sizes, but they may or may not be the most beneficial.
Yeah, you might want to skip around more, overlap, and
Sure.
yeah, you can get a kit to start with and then add these refills, which we'll link all of this in the description of the podcast. So if you want to shop for certain kits or you want to shop for the refills of those kits, they are a little bit buried in the site because, let's be honest, we want you to buy the full kit and then we want you to refill it, but sometimes that doesn't
And I would
work.
love for somebody to come and say, hey, listen, this was great. This is what we're doing. What I really want is a kit with these sizes range of wire and this size range of hypodermic tubing,
Ooh, yeah,
so that
combo kit.
our engineers can put that, have it right there on their desk, and they can. This is what they typically work with or experiment with, and let us put that kit together, because that's when your engineers are sitting there and they're able to design faster. They've got it right there. They've got the ranges of what they possibly need at their fingertips and can make real life decisions really quickly.
Yeah. And I think that's in tune with component supply. We don't want to put it on the website if we can't ship it today. When you get into custom, we might need an extra day to put together a combo kit, but we can do it. So what's on the website, I really do hope with the kits, as with everything else that's on the online offering, that it is just the starting point of a really great conversation. How can we make your lab, your R&D lab, more efficient and more helpful to the people that are working in it, the people that are using these parts? We understand that it's hard to standardize everything. We want to standardize as much as we can for the online store as a starting place. But if you have an idea that's custom with our products for a lab kit, we want to work with you and make that happen. It might just be your component supply lab kit, and we might not standardize it for everybody else in the world. But it can be something that's a resource for your team, and that's what we're going for. That's the goal of these kits. They're the starting point to be a resource. Now what else can we do for you? How can we make it more effective to you as our customer? So we've done hypodermic tubing, we've done the wire. Similarly, what else goes in these boxes? We did add a Nitinol kit recently, so those are available for purchase on the website. Those are, I think, 4 different ranges of sizes. Same idea, it gives you a couple pieces just to test with, play with. If you have your own shape setting processes, you can mess around with that. But again, if you're like, I know I need Nitinol, I need a prototype shape set, we can help you through that process as well. But that gives you kind of the diameter range to start with. We do the same thing for dispensing needles. They come in various lengths and various gauge sizes. So that's another avenue where you can just test a lot of different sizes, and this would be more related to, mostly these are used in dispensing applications.
For sure.
And so, that's really what you're testing. These don't have the tips on them or anything like that when they're off the shelf. Again, though, this is a great opportunity for hey, we're constantly dealing with designing devices that require some sort of septum penetration. We want to test a few different gauge sizes with a couple angles on them. We can work with you to make your own kind of custom kit for that. So this is just the starting point, as standard as possible, but just the beginning of a conversation. I love the mesh kits because they're so. It's
in a binder.
It's in a binder.
You love a binder.
I do. Leslie Knope, right? I just love a binder. But same idea. It's going to give you the reference specs on here. It's going to give you QR codes for what you need. Stephanie behind the camera, helped us put these together, and they're just so nifty. I used the word nifty.
Nifty?
I know, that was new. I regret it. So these come with
I don't.
2 sheets each of Nitinol. Where am I going with this? This is nylon. See, we just have so many components. It's hard to keep them all straight.
I know.
So these are our mesh lab kits. They come in a binder like this. There's about 2 sheets each. So this one ranges from $400 on like the smaller side of this kind to $940. But there are so many of them. We have them in nylon and polyester, definitely more in the nylon. I think we have 6 in nylon and 3 in polyester. Gives you the idea to see a range of mesh opening sizes for your filtration application. Again, this is just the starting point. You're testing small quantities of like an industrial grade mesh. And sometimes that's all that you need for your medical device. You know, it's not going in the body, so, or, you know, it's not necessary, it's kind of extra medical, like more of the industrial side of the medical space. But you can test with them. If you do need a medical grade pedigree or a food grade or those kinds of things, this is the starting point though. Everything starts with mesh opening size for filtration, and then you narrow down other specs, you narrow down other materials, you go from there. So just, again, the starting point will work with you for other things that you need.
This is another one for the custom side because, you know, we picked a range, but so many times in the actual application, you have, you know, the filter size that you want, and then you really need a substrate. So you'll use, I don't know, let's just say, you know, something in the 70 micron range, which is really thin.
Yes.
But in order to make whatever application you're going to have to put like a 300 or 400 or even bigger on the back side of it to hold it in place.
Yeah.
And so this is from the custom side. If you know, your engineers, your designers are typically filtering between, I don't know, let's just say, you know, 20 and 70 micron, but you know that you're going to need some kind of substrate that's anywhere from 600 to 1,000.
Right.
You can come in and say, hey, listen, give me a kit that's got this range of sizes for this, and then a couple of these bigger, you know, for the structure, and that way you're not buying 2 or 3 kits.
Right.
It allows you to come in and buy one kit. It's custom for you, but you can buy 2 or 3 of them for your designers to have on their floors and be able to do that. So
yeah, it really, the opportunity here is like the sky's the limit. I feel like I say that so much on the podcast, but it's true. The goal is for you to test multiple sizes and configurations as a starting point for what you actually need, but not just what you actually need for like production or final design, but what you really need in your lab for testing, because usually it's not just one kit, it's a variety of kits, or like Mark said, it's something custom. And so we want to work with you. I think we get a lot of, we have a lot of conversations with customers, right? We have a quoting meeting every day where we get custom jobs. Y'all are coming up with the coolest, craziest products. The goal is always to be able to test as much as you can off the shelf. That is Component Supply's goal for you. We can move to custom, but we don't want to move you prematurely when you haven't found what works on the basics, because sometimes the calculations on the drawing don't work in real life. So a lab kit is kind of your first step to testing something in real life. That's the goal of those kits. We want to get components in your hands as quickly as possible. And so this is just one way that we're able to do that. We want you to be able to, you know, move concept to early prototypes, right? You know, you're probably going to go custom or add custom, but what's the point if you don't know what diameter range you're dealing with? So that's the goal. And to also just eliminate lead time. You order this by 2 p.m., you're going to get it the next day. You don't have to wait for long lead material. You don't have to, you know, wait for something custom. So that's the goal. And really, the real savings and the real benefit is being able to make mistakes early with a kit versus making a mistake later with something custom and having to go back to kind of the basics. It's really the goal of these lab kits and the goal of so much of our online store offering. Again, testing early, testing as inexpensively as possible in the beginning, save your budget for down the road. Some new kit ideas that we have. We are getting more and more questions about various coatings, and so we're going to be adding some coating coated mandrel lab kits pretty soon here, where you can test a variety of different coatings. You'll have the diameters to test with, but perhaps you've already narrowed that down. And now you're, you know, depending on what's more important, durability, lubricity, maybe what your mandrel material is, those things all come into question. So it'll give you the opportunity to kind of break this coating and see the limits. And a lot of the questions around coating that we get, and it's just so applications based, is like, how many times can I use it? We cannot advise, truly. Like, every application is so different. What are you exposing it to? What are the temperatures you're exposing to? All the different things.
Well, everybody handles it differently.
True.
You don't know what you're...
Even in our shop, different operators,
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of training to get them to handle certain coatings the right way versus other coatings.
Yeah, I mean, it's durable, but if you take your fingernail and go across
some of them,
it,
yes, exactly.
You know, it just depends on the application. So, but again, we believe that a coated mandrel lab kit will give you more opportunities to test before investing in like a long lead time of a coated material or just the expensive. So we're hoping to break that down a little bit as a barrier here pretty soon. What else do we want to talk about? I feel like we nailed it all.
I think we did a great job. I know I threw the whole custom thing at you. I don't know if that was in your notes or not.
I mean, I know it's going to happen because it always turns into a custom conversation. But really, here it's different, though, because a lot of times when we're talking about custom, it's like you're going custom for production. You're going custom for, you know, the next phase of volume. Mm-hmm. This is different because this is custom for just for the sake of
this is
testing.
Empowering the designers to work so fast.
I think that's why we love lab kits, is because this is what we love. We love scaling as you scale. Like that's exciting. Mm-hmm. We love seeing what you're using projects for, but kind of, I mean, I think the real fun part is giving you multiple ways to fail well and do it before it's very expensive, because we know we're not going to get it right on the first try. So how many ways can we provide products to you to test with so you can fail well, learn something, take that with you to your next iteration, and then go from the kit to the volume to the custom, and we get to be a part of that journey, and we've seen it happen, and it's so rewarding.
But the lab kits, if you start peeling everything back at component supply and go back to our history of small parts, like at the very core, this concept of the hardware store for researchers and developers, the R&D hardware store, that concept of the early American hardware store where you could go in, buy everything that you need was right there, and somebody helping you who was a knowledgeable resource. Mm-hmm. The lab kits really sit at the core of that.
Totally.
I think that's one of the reasons they're so excited. That's why we've added so many of them and tried to put some together, and it's why they're really difficult to. They're actually more difficult than you think to put together. Otherwise, we would have had a fitting ones. But the truth is, when you sit down and you look at all the fittings, to put something together that's wildly meaningful, it's a tremendous number of kits, because you start looking at it from this perspective and this perspective, and the point is to get somebody to be able to make a decision and design their product quickly and answer their questions in real time, or find the thing that they don't need fast. Yeah. And so the spirit behind the lab kits is really at our core. Everything else that component supply has done is in support of this core mission or passion for product design and development. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons I think this is so important to us, because even though it's probably not our largest product line, it sits the core of why this group here in Central Tennessee shows up every day. We do lots of things, but at the core, it's because we truly believe and are committed to product design and development. And this is one commitment to that, at our center.
I mean, that's the podcast.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to wrap up why we have them.
No, that was it.
Okay.
That's the podcast. Let's go change the world.